It's a very important song. It's the very first Alice in Chains song on the very first Alice in Chains EP, We Die Young. I'm so very excited to share this with you, but first I'd like to take a quick moment to thank the following people, who I hope and trust are very much alive, regardless of how old they are, for signing up for the Patreon supporter of the Cause Club. 2 Raymonds, Raymond Higgins and Raymond Gale, Simon McDonald Smith, Robert Kimmel, and Casey McConnell. Thank you so very much. This guy must have been young. And if you would like to find out what that's all about, the link is in the description. First things first, the tuning. Not a single Alice in Chains song is in standard tuning, not one. So if you're an Alice in Chains fan, guitar player, you better get used to the idea. This one's in drop C sharp, which is just like drop D, but everything is one note lower than that. So your E string will read C sharp. Your A string, your normally A string, will read G sharp, followed by C sharp, F sharp, A sharp, and D sharp. Congratulations, you are now in drop C sharp. One of the cool things about drop style tunings, drop D or drop C sharp or drop anything, is that normally in standard tuning when we play power chords it's like that, but since our low string is now 2 frets lower, in order to accomplish this, we gotta do that. So we can play power chords really, really fast, which brings us to the intro. We are going to do a power chord, that means all the same fret, the low 2 or 3 strings, on the 2nd fret. We're gonna go 2 0 0. Then we're gonna grab the 6th fret. I'm gonna use my ring finger, and you're gonna give it a bend. I guess I'm gonna use my ring and middle fingers for extra strength. And then open. And then 3 0 0 twice. And then 3 0 3 5. And here's the first half of the intro, albeit very slow. 2 0 0 6 0 3 0 0 3 0 0 3 0 3 5. For the first half of the intro. The first half of the second half of the intro is the same as the first half of the intro. So we're going to do our 2 0 0, 6 bend, 0, 3 0 0. But this is where it changes. We're going to go 3 0 5, and then 5 as we kind of bend it. Regular 5, 3 0. So the different part is... And the whole second half is... And now let's put them all together. Albeit slowly. Great news, when the singing starts, you're going to do everything we just talked about one more time. And now we need to talk about power chords. So a power chord is 2 notes, but you can play any amount of those 2 notes. So let's say we're playing a G power chord on the 5th fret. The notes are G and D and G. But if you had 72 Gs and 419 Ds, it would still be a G power chord. And we're going to encounter a larger power chord as we go on here. We're going to have, for instance, 5 5 5, and then the 7th fret of the G string, and then the 8th fret of the B string is just 1 more D and 1 more G. So we're going to call this the huge power chord. Okay, so after you do the thing we already talked about one more time, then you do the second line of that even one more time, the one that ends in 3 0 3 5. And then the next line is the same as that. Oh, I'm excited. All the way through the first 3 0 0s. So... But now we're going to do huge power chord on 3 0 0. And then huge power chord on... Notice I'm not even taking my ring and pinky fingers off the G and B strings to get the O. so that I'm ready for the next box, the next part section, which is going to be 3 huge power chord, 5 huge power chord, which makes the entire this line followed by, I'm going to call this the weird part. It's the watch where you spit line. This is a very strange rhythm here, and it helps me to recognize that the O's come in alternating 1s and 2s after their huge power chord. You'll see what I mean. So we're going to start all the way up on huge power chord 11. So 11, 11, 11, 13, 14, followed by a single O, and then all the way down to 3 and a double O. 3 and a single O, 3 and a double O, 1 more 3 and a single O, and then 5, 3 huge power chords, O. All together is the first line of the weird part. The second line of the weird part is identical to the line we just talked about through the second double O. This is starting to sound like a James Bond movie. At which point, after that, we're going to go power chords. 3, 5, bend it. Regular 5, 3, O. So we're going to tack that on after the second double O. Here we go. Phenomenal news. The next line you already know. It's the one that ends like this. So, and the last line of the weird part is exactly like that, but instead of ending like this, it just ends like this. The opposite and no O. So, no O so. So, and that concludes the weird part. And the final thing there is to discuss is the riffy section. This part, and that thing is a trill. You're just supposed to play the notes back and forth really fast. It's not like 16th note. You just do it fast. So, first of all, hammer on from 3 to 5 of the A string and let it ring for a sec. And then you do 3, 5, 3, 5, 3, 5, 3, 5. And then you do this thing that we already talked about. And then we're going to do that an octave higher, but using a bend. So grab the G string 5th fret, and then, you know, like that. It's double tracked on the track, so it sounds kind of like it's chorusy. There's 2 guitars doing that at the same time, followed by the same. And then you do your big 3 and your big 5. And that's the riffy part. And those are all the parts. And for as difficult as that is to do, and as very difficult as that was for me to figure out, the brain ooze was real. At least it's very repetitive, so I won't even tell you to go use your earballs and figure out which part goes. You just do it over and over again. But if you are the kind of person who would benefit from a playthrough situation, that is one of the things that the Patreon folks get. So I hope to see you there, link in the description. And thank you so much for being here. And I hope that was fun and helpful. And I will see you next time with more stuff. Goodbye.